how are you? This is Infallible Arch and the Australian Transition Team and Focus Group back again. Well, we've just made you the most famous international president ever. I hope you're working on that. Now we're working on the national scheme. Now, because if you can introduce fairness into the inner city and the poorest regions, Donald, you're tops. Now remember, you don't want to be popular, you want to be respected. And that's what the great American presidents were, respected. Don't think they're too worried about being popular. Now, simply by having these brilliant new high schools, you will upgrade the inner cities. You'll probably lower the crime rate a little bit. I don't know why, but I just have an instinctive feeling. Now the second thing about education is it's brilliant to have those schools, but there are topics that should be taught in every school. Firstly, every child in the land should do an exercise program from primary right through secondary school for 20 minutes, half an hour before he or she starts school. For one thing, if you do that for 13 years, you may exercise every day of your life from then on. What a brilliant thing to do for the national health. And what's it cost? Stuff all. Costs very little to do that, Donald, because social and preventive medicine are brilliant. They're just, if you see a brilliant operation on TV, yeah, that's good. But people forget that in the 19th and 20th century, the biggest advances in medicine were almost universal sanitation and vaccination of children. Both not traumatic, both saving millions and millions and millions of lives. So this stuff in schools is important. This is where education and health intersect. That exercise program is very important. And why wouldn't you have, you've got a lot of spare billionaires in the US, why wouldn't you take a famous one like Michael Jordan and say, Michael, we'd like to give you a job. We'd like to make you the special ambassador for youth fitness and sport nationally, the special national ambassador. And why wouldn't Michael Jordan have either a small TV program where he did this every morning, I don't know how to do it, or just a video? Because when we were young, Cousin Donald, I think it was the Canadian Air Force had a book called the 5BX and the XBX books, where they worked out that they needed an exercise program to cover the whole of the Air Force, which is everything from gung-ho young fighter pilots to 65-year-old ladies on typewriters, the typewriters of today. So these were a progressive graduated set of exercises, and why shouldn't you make someone like Michael Jordan the ambassadors for youth? And maybe also he could do a special video for middle-aged and older people. It'd be brilliant to have someone as highly respected as that saying to the whole population, come on, including the kids, come on you lot, you can get fit, you've got to exercise every day, have a look at my video. And I think it's just a great idea, and you generally find people like that who've been great beneficiaries of your society probably are keen to pay back. Anyway, that's just an idea. The kids should be exercising every day. They should walk into school with their brains oxygenated. Now, in your poorer areas, and I'm sure you already have programs for this, you should have a free breakfast and a free lunch program so the children eat properly. And there's no reason why in any of these inner city schools, what we're seeing today is the farm come to the city. These days you can get a container that grows commercial quantities of vegetables. Why wouldn't you have one in every school or two in every school? Why wouldn't you have your children learning to grow plants? What a beautiful concept. Children in the country do it. Children in more affluent places do it. Why shouldn't your inner city children be doing this? This is all part of their education, and it's cheap as chips. And it doesn't have to be done from some vast top-down government bureaucracy. Why shouldn't the Make America Great movement be a registered charity with like a chain of pizza franchises, a bit different everywhere, and anyone can be in it, Republicans, Democrats, who cares? So long as it's a movement of local people, because where America's greatest strength a lot is, Donald, is people vote for their local dog catcher, police chief, whatever. We think that's a brilliant concept, and that can be done at minimal cost. Then your children are attending, your inner city children are attending brilliant schools with the sort of education you and George Bush and Mr. Obama had, and they're well fed, their brains are oxygenated, are darn good, and they learn to grow something. It's really, really good. The other thing that all children should be learning is about their bodies. I'm not talking about sex education. That's for older children, and that's between parents and schools as to who teaches what. I'm talking about anatomy. The children of the nation should be taught about the beauty and the wonder of the human body. They should be taught anatomy, how delicate and how fragile and how wonderful the brain is, and how the heart functions, etc., etc. Now, this would be the best possible thing you could do to try and prevent drug addiction and alcoholism in later life. Now, I don't know what programs are available in America, but in Australia, something like 75% of the population smoked in 1950. Now it's about 15%, and that's improved because kids come home from school and say, "Mum, I don't want you to die," and burst into tears, and Mum gives up smoking. So they're brilliant long-term things any school should be doing. But if you have those brilliant schools in the inner city, and if the children are fit, and they're well fed, and they're learning properly, you're saying to their parents, A, our government cares about you. It's a political message, the Democrats never do this, we know that. But we're also saying your children have equality of opportunity. If they're hardworking and talented, they'll get somewhere. If they're not, nobody in the world can help them. But providing equality of outcomes is impossible. That's all that Marxist nonsense. But equality of opportunity is most important after all. Dolly Parton and people like that get somewhere because of enormous talent, as did Oprah Winfrey. But they're exceptional people. For average kids to have this opportunity is number one, and you won't be one of the greatest domestic presidents until you can provide opportunity, equality of opportunity for children in the inner city areas and the poor deprived rural areas. Now, those things are very important. The other thing that's very important, and I don't know how to do it, would be to have in these inner city areas street committees where people can take charge of their own streets. We all know if you go to a rough pub, a lot of fighting goes on. We all know if you go to a top hotel, you hardly ever see a fight. The better surroundings are, the better people behave. We all know this. You're a man of the world, so am I, so are my friends, so are your friends. Okay, this is obvious stuff, and it's not big bucks. Now, why shouldn't the people of every one of those mean inner streets, why shouldn't their buildings be washed and cleaned by local committees? Why shouldn't they have nice pot plants in the streets? Even revegetate the inner city with appropriate trees. Not 1,000-foot high pine trees or something, but appropriate trees. Now, if you give the people of the inner city beautiful education for their kids, and if you can give them sufficient seed money so that maybe the government puts $1 up to improve a street for every dollar the locals raise, I don't know. But the whole idea with both education and beautification is to avoid that enormous bureaucracy. We don't want to see you shoveling a bunch of money in at the top in Washington and people pinch it and special interest pinch it and it dwindles down eventually to the street level. Why can't you transfer money directly at street level to trust committees of people? Think about it, Donald. When you're a young man, if you want to pay someone, you wrote a cheque, put it in an envelope and posted it. Now, just pull your phone out and transfer it. So, why would you be using obsolete methods to transfer money to people who need it? Because small amounts of money would do that. And also, with the education we mentioned before, why shouldn't people in the inner city, poorest areas, and they've got to prove they're poor, why shouldn't they get a voucher? Not that they can spend on buying a new VCR or new mag wheels for their car. Why shouldn't they get an education voucher for $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 or whatever is appropriate to spend at the school of their choice? Why shouldn't they? After all, that's what rich people do, don't they, Donald? They take their money and send their kids to school of their choice. This would be a very fair thing to do. And this would mean too, you put landmark, fantastic schools in, it would mean the other local high schools would have to lift their game. Perhaps a bit more emphasis on maths and physics instead of gender diversity and multiculturalism and all the usual tosh, because you want your children prepared for life. Not every kid gets a prize. The smartest kids and the hardest working kids should be getting prizes. That's some of our thoughts on education. The other thing we'd love to see is every society like ours in the US rewards sporting excellence. Why shouldn't the top 2 teachers in every state be celebrated and lauded? Why not a big White House dinner for the top 100 teachers in America and the top 100 kids, 2 per state, whatever? Why wouldn't you do that? If you want excellence, celebrate excellence and go ahead and do your own thing. Don't look at all the sclerotic bureaucracies who've stuffed up education. Start. This is like Facebook again, Donald. Start the movement at the lower level of the schools. Start the movement there. Get your Make America Great people involved. Get local committees of people involved. Do it at the local level. And why can't you? You're a businessman. Why can't money be transferred from the central government to the local level directly and cut out the middleman? Can't see any reason why not. But we're not educationists. We're just talking about if you're running a big business. Wouldn't you give your top salesmen some big bonuses? Of course you would. Wouldn't you celebrate your top employees? Of course you would. Well, with education, wouldn't it be wonderful for the 100 top kids in America, and they'll come from all sorts of backgrounds, to get a lovely pendant or medal and shake the hand of the president? Wouldn't it be tops for the 100 best teachers in America? And every year they'll be different, some of them will be the same, to shake the hand of the president and receive something? I think you should reward excellence, and that way you're rewarding excellence perfectly. If you gave the 100 top teachers in America 10 grand, that's $1 million. If you gave the 100 top kids 10 grand, that's $2 million. That's chicken feed. Look at all the dough the Commonwealth Government wastes every year. Donald, we'd like to see you put some creative ideas in, and when you do this, you're avoiding the established bureaucracy. You're creating, just like Facebook, something that'll grow organically from above, because top-down stuff's obsolete. And the current education bureaucracy, leave them alone. Leave them alone. Let them just see how they go. How can they object to totally new stuff paid by someone else? It's not going to conflict with their jobs. They'll have to shape up or ship out. Thank you for listening, Donald. We think these ideas are worth considering. To you and your transition team, we wish you all the best. From the Aussie boys. Thank you.